All right. Hi, I'm Ricky from Rev Consultants. So I help subcontractors win more tenders at their target profit in 12 weeks or less, even if they're time poor, overwhelmed, and don't know where to start. Basically, my goal is to make this process as simple and successful as possible, so you can win those bigger projects with less stress. I'm here on a regular basis. Jump on and ask me a question, or DM me anything you feel like would be great for me to cover. This is your opportunity to basically ask me anything. Okay, so this week's topic for discussion, it's the 7th in a series of lives I'm doing on pricing and getting pricing right, with the focus this week on profit. So profit, it's why we're here at the end of the day, basically. It's why we're all here. As far as I'm concerned, a project is only successful if everyone comes out at the end of it having turned a profit. So this is including all subcontractors and the main contractor, and hopefully your ideal client thinks along similar lines. Profit from the job is what's left over after all is done and dusted, and all your expenses, including your overheads, are paid. So the aim of pricing is basically to protect your profit, and appropriately accounting for everything, including a little bit of risk where appropriate. That's exactly what you're trying to do. So how do you include for profit in your estimate? As I'm sure everyone is aware, profit's included as a percentage in your estimate. The percentage is usually grouped with your overheads and added onto your cost, hence why the percentage is usually penned OH&P, or overhead and profit. Because it's grouped together like this, it's important that you know what percentage you're allowing for each, your overheads and your profit. So let's take a look at a quick little example. Okay, so here is my summary sheet of my estimate. Completed these figures through the previous lives that we did to build this up. So we've come to a costed tender total, including a little bit of calculated risk, of 63,933, i.e. we believe from our knowledge of the job and our estimate that this job is going to have a cost to us of 63,933. So that's our costed tender total. So then we talk about what we're going to add on top of it. So adding on top our OH&P. So if you watched my previous live on overheads, you'll see how I got to this figure, 7.5%. But I have put in my overhead calculation from my actual overhead costs to give me that percentage, which I'm adding on top. Then we're adding our profit margin. So to start with, we'll put in 10%. But basically, the way that I've set this book up, this percentage at 10% is a total of the total. So total cost, so the what we're going to submit to the client, the 77K, not the costed K. I've just done that similar to an accounting figure. But if I'm adding 7.5 and 10%, here's a little calculation that I've created. I am adding on top of my 63K 21.2%. So my OH&P percentage is 21.2%. So the question everyone asks is, what's the right percentage to add here? Now, as far as I'm concerned, you should be basically changing this per job. But what we usually like to say is, if I'm adding 10% or whatever percentage it is, if you turn that into pounds, so for this example, it's 7,749 pounds. For this job, if I turned a profit of 7,700 pounds, am I happy with that? If the answer is no, you probably need to increase it a little bit. You might want to increase it a bit to a figure that you probably are happy to do the job for. If the answer is yes, you're probably about right. Another consideration on is this enough is most large subcontractors, they're going to be adding in the region of 20 to 30% OH&P. So that region I would consider for most tenders and trades as competitive. Another consideration is the job. So you might be willing to win this job and not make much profit from it because it's a good job and you want to get in with the client. So you might be looking at taking that down to be a little bit more competitive with your price. And on the flip side, if it's a small job and you're not too worried about it, you might want more money to make that job worth it. So you might be increasing that percentage. The last consideration, and one that I usually use with my clients, is what would you be happy with as a return on it, as a figure for retained profit at the end of the year. So, for example, if you have a £1 million turnover, your company has £1 million turnover, how much retained profit would you want from that £1 million in the year? Now, if that, what figure you'd be happy with, if that was 100 grand, that's 10%. But 10% is generally quite a good figure of the total percentage, not the cost of percentage. Okay, so I hope that helps. Basically, in summary, when you submit a tender, your pricing should be aiming to protect the profit that you're targeting on that job. So pricing comprehensively, including risk, protecting the profit. It's really important that you're clear on your overheads so that your overheads don't eat into your profit. And if you're not clear on your overheads, I did a video or a live on overheads recently, so check that out. But you want to be clear on your overheads so your OH&P is not all OH&P and no profit, for example. And lastly, I'd be reviewing the profit that you add on each and every job. So maybe having a base, but going up or down from that depending on the job, just as I kind of explained through that example. And lastly, taking the time to estimate comprehensively to protect your profit. This is basically going to ensure that you're setting up for a successful and a profitable project. Okay, that's it for today. Short and sweet. Stay tuned for my next live. I'll cover another impactful tendering topic. If you'd like to speak to me specifically about how you can improve your tendering, there's a link in my LinkedIn profile to book a session on one of these. It's free. That's it. Thank you, and see you again soon.